Game 4 was tied 1-1 after the first period. In the second, Flyers power play number 4 was 20 seconds old when Gord Murphy fired and Tim Kerr tipped home a Flyers lead that turned out to be for the night. 2 minutes and 21 seconds later, it was another power play. A three-man passing play. When all the catch playing had ended, Kerr had another goal, and the Flyers were en route, even in the second period, to an eventual 4-1 win. Penguins' fortunes were dealt a blow in the third period when a collision between teammates Randy Cunneyworth and Mario Lemieux placed a question over Lemieux's status. He will be playing in the game tonight, despite this hard hit from Cunneyworth. The field for the Stanley Cup has dwindled from 16 to 7. It could be presented as early as 4 weeks from tonight, but a lot's got to happen between now and then. Live from Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, Sports Channel presents the 1989 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Tonight, Game 5 of the Patrick Division Finals, featuring the Philadelphia Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Good evening, everyone. Along with Bill Clement, I'm Mike Emmerich. These are two teams of contrast, even though they're tied. Bill, in the morning skate, Pittsburgh seemed really down. The Flyers seemed really charged.
Well, I think the Penguins should be down. I really believe the Flyers ripped the series away from them in Game 4 of the Spectrum. I said before that game, I thought the team that won Game 4 would go ahead and win the series. I still believe that. If the Penguins want to prove me wrong, and I've been wrong a couple of times, they have to do it tonight. The Penguins cannot win this series if they don't win this hockey game tonight.
Mario Lemieux, healthy through 4 games, had 5 points, but was really limited in his capabilities. Now he's limited in health.
Well, the Flyers have done such an excellent job this whole series of shutting down number 66. You wonder how effective he's going to be tonight, especially because you have to know the Flyers are going to try and rattle him early, test that whiplash neck, and see if it can withstand the pain and the pressure. I'm not sure that it can, but even if he was healthy, the Flyers have found a way to shut him down pretty consistently.
And Paul Coffey, too. Coffey had 9 points in the series against the Rangers. He's had only 1 point in 4 games.
Well, absolutely, Mike. Gene Ubriaco said he's so happy to have a second line on this team, but they can't take you through a series. You got to have 66 and 77 going if you're going to go anywhere. Coffey didn't even have a shot on goal in Game 4.
And the Flyers side of things has been dominated by their special teams. Power play, excellent penalty killing, too.
Well, the unit has been together for a long time, and Dave Poulin really leads it. You know, he's had such an outstanding second half after having a slow first half. I think he's even upped it a notch in the playoffs. He scored some key goals, and there's no question he leads the power play unit.
And Brian Propp has had 3 goals of his own in this series, and has been excellent, too.
Well, you take a look at the scoring, and Brian Propp is right up there near the top overall in the playoffs in the National Hockey League. You add the fact that Brian Propp is one of the big 4 killing penalties for the Flyers, and that tells you a little bit about the value of Brian Propp to the team.
Absolutely. Well, the Pens are a little bit down, but they'll be buoyed up by 16,025 fans here tonight. Opening face-off coming up in just a moment. Andy Van Helleman, the referee, Ron Finn, and Gord Brossiker are the linesmen. You talk about a future in goal. 25 years of age a week from tomorrow. Ron Hextall, he's lowered his goals against average in this series about half a goal. At the other end, 24 years of age last month, and his goals against has gone up. And we have Secord now looking at Bork as you watch play coming behind the net with Zarley Zalapski. And Secord and Bork went at each other. Secord is the one who's going to get the penalty for cross-checking, or at least getting his stick up high.
You bet he is, and he might even get more for that, Mike. Now Buskus who's trying to get at Secord. Pretty interesting. Phil Bork has had to start against the Flyers' big guys. He's a big guy himself, but in every one of these games, both Ubriaco and Holmgren have made sure that has happened. The visiting coach has to declare his lineup first, and then the home coach matches. So Paul Holmgren matched number 21, Al Secord, against Phil Bork, and they went at it, almost went at it right away. Remember Game 3 in the Spectrum. Craig Berube and Phil Bork fought right off the opening faceoff. Secord and Bork came close in Game 4, but never got going. And now here in Pittsburgh, there's the second shove. That was Buskus and Secord. Now here in Game 5, close, no fight, but a key penalty. Secord has taken it. Lineup changes tonight, not many. The Pittsburgh Penguins make one. They put heavy hitter Steve Dykstra in. They removed Randy Hillier. The Flyers, not one change from Game 4. Why would you make a change? Rick Tocchet will still watch tonight and hope for Game 6.
Howe working with Samuelson for the penalty-killing Flyers, and it is Poulin and Drop up front. Zalapsky pivoting with this. He has Coffey to work with him, and up front, it is Mario Lemieux working along with Brown and Dan Quinn as that one took a Pittsburgh bounce over to Lemieux. Wrapped up by Samuelson, but Lemieux able to control. Hands back to Coffey. Fires, and that one off the glove. Rebound, and the puck held in the crease by Ron Hextall.
That may have had a little bit of knuckling effect because Paul Coffey didn't even wait for the puck to settle down when he shot it. Lemieux has it along the boards. Dave Poulin moved right over to him. You see that puck was rolling. And as a result, the knuckleball was hard for Hextall to handle. There was Robbie Brown. You know, I mentioned the scratches. I said no changes for the Flyers. Boy, Hextall looked like he just took a swat at Andy Van Hellemond. Let me I wanted to quickly say that Rick Tocchet is not in uniform tonight. He was not in uniform for Game 4. That's why the lineup is the same. So the Flyers are still without a 45-goal scorer tonight.
Hextall has been concerned about some interference around his net. And from our angle, he swung out with his left arm. Hextall led out with his left arm. Van Hellemond was out in front of him, but far enough away that there was no connection made. But from our angle, it looked dangerously close. Here is Ron Sutter for the shorthanded Flyers, clearing one down. And Hextall, you may have noticed there, wanted Dave Poulin to immediately report his concern to Andy Van Hellemond, as if Hextall hadn't done enough of it himself. Now off of Hextall, it comes over to Lemieux, tried to center, blocked down by Samuelson. Lemieux gets it back to Coffey. Coffey swings one, and that knocked down by Samuelson. Feathered back by Lemieux to Brown, but he couldn't reach Quinn with a pass. Zalapsky back over to Coffey, close quarters to Zalapsky again. Then to Robbie Brown. Brown hands off to Quinn. Quinn has Lemieux, but will keep. Samuelson there, and the pass from Zalapsky, and that one flapped wide. Back to Coffey, a drive, and that knocked down. Rebound, Lemieux, another save! Made by Hextall, and he covers up. We get a stoppage of play. And now Dave Poulin jabbing in the direction of Brown after the whistle.
Boy, Lemieux had a chance to let that one go, Mike. Hextall was out of the goal. And we're going to have to wait to see Mario Lemieux shoot the puck before we can tell just how restricted he is. But he took something off of this one. Once again, the Flyers keep the Penguins on the outside on the perimeter. That didn't look like a pass to me from that angle.
No, I don't think it was. Well, that's exactly where Mario likes to pot him from, too. Right at that left circle on a pass across just one time at home.
You know, that rebound actually came out, hit Shell Samuelson in the skate, and then went over to Lemieux. That didn't come directly to him.
All right, ready on the face-off with 46 seconds still to go on the Penguins power play as Sutter rolls along to Howe. Zalapsky tried to keep, knocked it down. Good second effort by him to keep play alive. Lemieux back to Zalapsky. Fires one. Off a stick. Rebound in front. They poke away at it. Wheeling one is Lemieux, and he drilled it wide. Puck came back to Zalapsky. Looks over towards Paul Coffey and hands to him. Coffey's shot knocked down by Ron Sutter. Boy, what a lot of slugging at the front of the net that time as Coffey's shot came in. Pile up of players at the line as ahead now comes Zalapsky. Zalapsky trying to work one along, but it's Mark Howe sending it back down. 8 seconds to go on the power play. The shots are 4-0 in favor of the Penguins. Here is Coffey leaving one that was nearly taken by Eklund, and now a chance for Lemieux in all alone. Look, shoot, he scores!
You know, you would have to watch Mario Lemieux a long time to see him as fired up as he is right now after that goal. He is supposed to be unchallenged in his talent. Even Wayne Gretzky now is looked upon as being secondary, but in the playoffs, Mario Lemieux has basically come up short. The challenge is tonight, right here at the Pittsburgh Civic Arena for Lemieux, and he has answered the bell early with that deep. You never know what he's going to do, Mike. He is so unpredictable, it's even difficult to play with him. He improvises everything, even that. He didn't have his mind made up before he made the move.
Paul Coffey has picked up his first point of the night. That's 2 points in the series, but he has responded very quickly for the Penguins here in this game, too. Kevin Stevens got the other assist at 2:15. Hextall scoops Murphy along, trying to chop it to Tim Kerr. Puck wedged along, and it bounces near Troy Loney. Wedged off by Wells, and then Hextall got an entanglement behind. Caulfield trying to nudge it to the front, but it's picked up by Acton. So the Flyers are flustered here in the early stages. 3 minutes gone in the first period. Puck dumped back in by Quinn. Stopped by Hextall, and we get an offside call. 16:59 left in the first. Lemieux's goal, the only one. Partner firing in, and Brian Dobbin to take it. Slowed down by Barrasso for Coffey. Dobbin right on him. Give away to Sutter, and it's saved Barrasso. And the rebound is scooped up and brought back up by Dan Quinn. A turnover by the Penguins' defense. But Barrasso acted well on the shot, as now here's Quinn. A rising shot, and it's fought away by Hextall. It hit the outside of the net, and the net has become dislodged on that play. So again, the clock is stopped.
Boy, what a play by Brian Dobbin to set up Ron Sutter in front all alone. The Flyers have definitely out-forechecked the Penguins in this series. No question about it. Paul Coffey was just caught looking up against the board. Dobbin right out front to Sutter. The puck went right back out to Ron Sutter after this. Tom Barrasso's first tough save. You know that he is on the hot seat. The reason the Penguins were even close in a couple of games, including the game that they won in overtime, Game 3, was Tom Barrasso. The Flyers have really outplayed the Penguins solidly in the last 3 hockey games that they have faced. They only won a couple of them, though. That overtime game was because of Barrasso.
Good hard hit, and the puck came right back out near Hextall, who held on as Ron Sutter barreled into his man, Lemieux, behind the net. I think we're going to see the matchup of Sutter and Lemieux often here again at Civic Arena, as we did in Games 1 and 2.
You bet. You had to figure that this was going to be a game that was physical. I know the Penguins want to establish something at home, so we'll watch for that type of play. Flyers just haven't let up in their hitting game. They started it against Washington, and they just carried it right into this. We talked to Jeff Chickman earlier today. He's one of the Flyers' big hitters, and we asked him if the Flyers really plan to come out here and establish a hitting game early.
Yeah, I think it's something they're expecting. I feel when you go into another team's building, you have to really use your physical aspects, and that's one of ours. Certainly, it'll help calm everybody on our hockey club, and it'll put hopefully not a scare in them, but it'll let them know that we come to play and to take it serious.
The Penguins have struck again. 3:45 into this first period. 90 seconds after they made it 1-0, it is now 2-0.
The hitting game won't get established this way. You talk about answering the challenge. Coffey gets an assist on this. Bob Airey gets an assist on this. And number 66, the guy that had to leave Game 4 in the Spectrum, has scored his second goal.
Here's Al Secord, dropping one back in deep. Pivoting with it is Zalapsky. Zalapsky forces one off that came near Josh Callender. Callender loses, though, to Mike Bullard. Bullard trying to finesse it along, but it's guided back out by Dineen. Dropped along, and Dineen is there to handle. Dineen just slugs it back in. Now, the unit that the Penguins have out up front are the only 3+ forwards that they have in the series coming into this game tonight. Callender as well as Cullen, as a shot came in on Barrasso, and that blocked off. And the other forward, Phil Bourque. They have only 3+ forwards. Lemieux may have risen to that rank now with the scoring of the second of his goals, the one that was even strength. Trying to glove that pass ahead. Jock Callender has lost his glove. Down to the ice of Penguin. Off the ice will come a Flyer. 15:24 to go in the first. It is 2-0 Pittsburgh.
Well, if you were a betting man, you probably would have bet the farm that the penalty was on one of the Flyers, because all you saw was John Cullen going down to the ice. Right there. But the call was for holding, because Cullen was holding Tim Kerr's stick. So the Flyers have a chance to stay close here. The Penguins have picked up the scent early, and here in Game 5 at the Civic Arena, they're off to a quick 2-0 lead.
Flyers on the power play will use Tim Kerr with Propp and Eklund, Murphy and Howe in back. Flyers power play in the series is 7 for 21. You're watching the NHL's best road power play and the NHL's poorest home penalty killing unit on the ice at the same time. Those are playoff statistics and rankings. As ahead now comes Murphy. Murphy creeps, Has to get through Johnson, rolls it by, and then the two of them go up hard to the board. Now it's Tim Kerr, but this one cut off by Loney. He's got Hannon moving in hands to him. Dave Hannon tosses it back in. Around it comes to Hextall. Lays it back around, and Loney didn't see it coming, or he might have been able to take, and now he does. Roy Loney drops it back along. Puck popped in the air by Lemieux, but gathered in by Murphy. And with all of this, the Flyers have lost 45 seconds off their power play as Murphy connects back ahead now with Pelle Eklund. Flips it, but into Lemieux. And Lemieux dumps it back off. And moving up the wing is Bob Airy, trying to get away from Howe. Down he goes. And we'll get a penalty coming up. Puck touched by the Flyers. And with 57 seconds left in their power play, the two teams will now go shorthanded. 4 aside for the next 57, and then a Penguin power play. The score of the game, Pittsburgh 2, the Flyers nothing. Boy, how things turn so quickly. Penguins have come out charged up. Got a power play just 10 seconds into the opening period. Mario Lemieux scored after the power play had ended by 5 seconds and then added another 90 seconds later. Puck dealt back off near Johnson, who wipes out Sutter, so that this one is flicked around by Barrasso. Dave Hannon taps one that Barrasso is behind to slow down so that Dineen can play. Back across to Johnson, then over for Hannon. Hannon and Bob Airy are there, and the puck slugged back off to Airy. Airy just controlling now. In 25 seconds, his team will gain a man and be on the power play. Johnson wrapped up by Sutter. So it is spun back in by Hannon. Hextall gets behind his goal to slow it. Big Jeff Chikrin brings it back up for the Flyers, laying it back across to Karkner. This one dropped back deep, and Paul Coffey is there. Acton brushes into him, and Sutter with a drive that went wide. In 4 seconds, it'll be a power play for Pittsburgh. Karkner tried to finesse by Quinn and couldn't do it. It is Ron Sutter right into the traffic of Cullen. Right from the box, a 2-on-1. Coffey has Lemieux. Hit the post with the shot. Cullen run into the boards by Ron Sutter, and here's a chance for the Flyers to step out with it. Short-handed, it is Sutter being stripped at the puck, and on Lemieux, his second breakaway. Score! A natural hat trick for Mario Lemieux.
You knew it had to happen, didn't you? Mario Lemieux, if he was made of the stuff that everybody thought he was, had to show the world, and it had to be tonight. That is his third goal in this hockey game, and we have not played 7 minutes. We have played 6 minutes and 55 seconds. And a costly turnover in the neutral zone cost the Flyers. Mario Lemieux didn't deke on that one. He had a Flyer closing on him. He just fired that one home. So you can keep a superstar down for only so long. I don't know, I think a lot of people might have felt that the entire playoffs would have been a bust for Lemieux. He didn't do much against the Rangers. He has not done much. He has scored goals against the Flyers in this series, but in a sense, he has not produced at all like he has during the regular season. Tonight, we're watching regular season Mario Lemieux, and as a result, the Flyers have a monster on their hands.
Do they ever? That's one of only 2 hat tricks in Stanley Cup history for the Penguins. Ken Schinkel had the other one 19 years ago against the Oakland Seals. 4 games to get 3 goals, and tonight 6:55 to get another 3.
Ron Sutter is the man that had his pocket picked by John Cullen from behind, and Lemieux, as he does so often, anticipated that. That one looked as if it went between Hextall's legs. Lemieux must have shown him glove side low, and then when Hextall opened up, fired it home. But it's a guessing game at best when he faces you. And that's why Lemieux is so effective. He plays for high stakes. He gambles. If Cullen doesn't get that puck away from Sutter, Sutter's going the other way with a pretty good head of steam on. He's got some people back. But watch it here. Lemieux is already headed that way before Cullen even picks Sutter's pocket. And the Penguins are in command here early. They've got the crowd behind them, and they've got 3 goals to work with.
Cullen gets the assist on Lemieux's 3rd of the night, 9th of the playoffs, and now 6th of this series, a series in which we had to look hard to have seen him earlier. That's no knock, it's just that sometimes he is not impressive when he doesn't get a lot of assists and a lot of playmaking going. And in the first 4 games, we hadn't noticed him much.
You're right, Mike. And you know what else? Mario Lemieux has been able to do this without taking a body check yet. Nobody has been able to really hit him to test that net. One thing is certain, his shot hasn't been affected by it.
And he's far more effective than that beard he's trying, isn't it?
Yeah, he is.
All right, ahead with it, and the big blast came from Jim Johnson. Loose puck out in front, dealt off, score by Bob Airy. The floodgates have been opened. It is 4-0 Pittsburgh.
This one is a little different. It is a dump in. That's something that the Penguins haven't done that much of. But you see how effective that was. It came back off the boards, and Ron Hextall missed it. Then Samuelsson missed it. Watch this. It's too far for Hextall to go and get. I think Samuelsson must have anticipated Hextall getting it. But Rob Brown was the guy that picked it up. Bob Airy had an open net just to slap it home.
Brown and Johnson get the assist at 7:07 on Airy's first goal in the playoffs. It is Keith Acton. Back up now for Eklund, and Acton is smeared out of the play. Eklund moving back in, has Tim Kerr. Flips one that is tipped high and into the seat. It is tilted. The Penguins are not only scoring, they are the ones who are coming up with the big hits in this. 7.5 minutes gone in the first. That has been a nightmare thus far for the Flyers.
Well, the first thing the Flyers have to do is stabilize. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Holman called a timeout, Mike. You know, if you stabilize against a team that's not noted for strong defense, and the Penguins finished 20th overall during the regular season, they've tightened it up. They're playing better defensive hockey now than they did during the regular season. But, hey, we almost got an entire hockey game here. 12 minutes still to go in this first period. So the Flyers' #1 priority now is stabilizing this thing before it gets completely gone and out of hand and away from them.
Puck wound around for Quinn. Got away from most of the hit of Secord. Then Kevin Stevens came in. And Stevens trying to battle his way out. Now it is Bullard tapping back in. Has to hook off Dan Quinn, and the Flyers probably caught a break there, as it appears that Bullard had put a good hook on Quinn, but with all of the theatrics that we see normally, how can you tell for sure? But this has been solid Penguins all the way here thus far. Puck thrown in the front. Barrasso knocked that one down. Loose puck is brushed away again by Barrasso. Tom Barrasso, at a time when the score was 1-0, made a big save on Ron Sutter. That kept it 1-0, and the Penguins have expanded from there. Here's a 3-on-2. Moving up ice is Cunnyworth. Hands over. Zalapski save made by Hextall. Rebound, and Hextall will just hang on and get a stoppage of play. 11:24 to go in the first. Lemieux with 3. Airy with 1. Penguins with 4. Flyers with 9. Playoffs on Sports Channel. Well, Cullen and Sutter for this faceoff. Bourque and Samuelsson preoccupied at the lower left of your camera for a moment. That slowed things down. But now the puck dropped and scooped by Poulin around to Kjell Samuelsson. And Samuelsson will start to bring it back up ice. Took some lumber from Bourque, but shovels it back in. Barrasso plays the carom, and around it comes to Jock Callender. Cross-bodied by Dobbin, but the puck already released to Cullen for the drop back in. Hextall watches. Samuelsson comes by. Samuelsson forcing one along that is slowed by Dobbin for Sutter. He was hit by Callender, who went down, and it's scooped ahead to Mark Howe. Here's Howe bringing it in. Feeds one to the slot that was away from Brian Propp, and here's Callender looking across and flipping one on for John Cullen. He's got Coffey there, but fires one that's blocked away by Samuelsson. Hooked around by Hextall, and still they go for it, but it's brought back up ice by Brian Propp again. Propp dumps. Backhand glove catch by Barrasso, and he's able to lead for Paul Coffey. shuffles it around the boards for Callender, and Callender rolls it deeper. Jay Wells back to play. Shift change on for the Penguins, the same for the Flyers, as we look for what Bill was mentioning, whether the Flyers can stabilize things here. Mellenby just forced right off by Zalapsky, so all he could get was a weak toss to the net. Barrasso flings it right back ahead, and on with it comes Robbie Brown. Brown shuffles one over that's directed by Lemieux. Spun right toward the goal. Then back a drive by Zalapsky, blocked away. Scramble at the front of the net, and Hextall had to act quickly to block that attempt away from Robbie Brown. 3-on-2 Flyers. In comes Dave Poulin. Fires, that's off the outside of the goal. Flung around by Dineen, but Poulin right there, and Lemieux on him. Fed to an empty point and back down. 9 minutes, 45 seconds to go. First period of play as Hextall punts to the board. Partner was locked up with one of the Penguins and still is. That was Robbie Brown as you watch Dineen going back to play this. Dineen without his helmet. And then a hard hit by Kartner. Oh, what a check on Zalapsky, who comes... Oh, it looked as though he was headed to the bench, but now play developed, so he stays out. On comes Keith Acton, trying to step by, but that's flicked away by Barrasso and taken by Jim Johnson. Johnson brings it back up for the Penguins. Away from Acton, drops it around the board, and Hextall is there, almost checked off by Hannon. Puck picked up by Hannon. Boy, the Penguins are winning the race to almost every puck. Loney now checked by Kartner. Loney trying to get loose, then back for Hannon, close quarters to Loney. His shot blocked down in front. Kartner tries to nudge it along, and then Brian Dobbin is stepped into. Still it's scooped along, and Chychrun took a man down. That was Jake Caulfield, and now the two of them are staring at one another. Chychrun puts a gentle grip into Caulfield, and watching it all was Andy Van Helleman as play moves ahead, but it's flicked back down by Stevens, and Hextall will just paddle it ahead.
While things are heating up, Jake Caulfield made a beeline for Hextall, faked it and got out of the way at the last second. I think Hextall got a piece of him with his stick.
Hextall taps. Along it comes, and it is lifted further by Chychrun. Bouncing puck taken by Tim Kerr. Moving ahead with Bullard. Nice pass to Bullard. His shot. Score! Mike Bullard scores. Tim Kerr slow to get up, but seems to be all right now to celebrate the goal.
Well, this is one way to stabilize, Mike. The other way, and I haven't had a chance to say it yet, is to establish your hitting game. You've got to take off the way you planned on taking off at the start of the game, no matter what the score is. Mike Bullard just let that wrist shot go between Paul Coffey, used him well as a screen, but the big play, watch this pass by Tim Kerr. Perfect pass. Coffey had backed in a little too far, so Bullard fired between Coffey's legs and then between Barrasso's legs. So the Flyers have done what they've had to do to try and stabilize, I think. Kartner with a couple of major league body checks. That lets the Penguins know that they're in a hockey game, and that's what the Flyers wanted to do initially coming out of the gate, and then score one. Nothing will slow a team down more than scoring. Obviously, the Penguins are still driving this car. They got 3-goal lead.
Kerr and Samuelson, the assist on Bullard's first of the series, second of the playoffs at 11:45. Hextall out of his goal. Hooks one around that is taken by Wells. Spun for Propp, and it comes back up to Sutter. He's got Mellenby up the wing. Sutter with a pass. Diving play made by Phil Bourque. Mellenby tried to get out of the way of Bourque. Loose puck, though, comes right back near Bourque and Sutter. It's dealt along to Mellenby. Mellenby has to get away from Buskus, checking now. Two aside, continue the battle. Mellenby goes down. There'll be a penalty coming to Buskus. Delayed call. Puck comes back to Wells. Finesses one along to Ron Sutter. Sutter feeds. Wells fires. That one knocked down. Penguins still trying to get possession. Don't have it yet, and now do. And will get the penalty call. Flyers will have a power play when we come back with 7:23 to go in the opening period of our game. Mike Bullard from Kerr and Samuelson, the first goal for the Flyers. They're down by 3.
What a great chance for the Flyers. Hiding behind that post is Rod Buskus. You can see the 7s on his sleeve. That's a holding call. 7:23 to go in the first, and with the Flyers trailing by 3, they got to make this count right now. The penalty is right along the glass in the corner there.
Flyers go with Tim Kerr. He has Propp and Eklund with him, and again, it is Howe working with Murphy in back. Dave Hammond to work up front for the Penguins. Also out will be Dineen, as well as Jimmy Johnson. And the other forward is Loney. Puck comes back to Murphy. Murphy hands across to Howe. Fires, and that one snatched out of the air by Barrasso.
You know, the Flyers have been able to bring it home from so many different areas in the power play. It's one of the reasons they're successful. See Mark Howe wind up for this shot. He's got a screen working because the top Penguin out there, Loney, was in front of him. But he knew that Tim Kerr was right in front. So sometimes the Flyers will come at you a little more basic than other times. They'll just rip that shot from the point if they know that this guy, Big 12, is anywhere in front. Other times they'll work it around and try and find a hole in the seam. But basically, the Flyers take what you give them. That's part of the coaching that Andy Murray and Mike Eads have done all season, and they really read what's in front of them well.
Puck kept alive by Eklund. Here's Howe moving in to Prop, and he tried to one-time it, but shanked it, and it is forced back down by Loney. 7 minutes to go, first period. 1 minute and 35 seconds to go on the Flyers power play. This is their second of the game. 4-1, Pittsburgh ahead. It is Pelle Eklund able to dance away from Airy, who moved aside. Now Eklund moves right in, hands to Howe. Fed one in front that clicks back over near Kerr and is regathered by Mark Howe. Howe has Murphy, but gives over to Prop. Then Prop to Murphy. Back for Prop, and it's stolen by Lemieux. Mario Lemieux just lays it back down. Shift change on for the Penguins. Hannon comes back out. And he'll work with Loney again. And back it'll be Dykstra. First time we've noticed him on defense to work along with Zalapsky. Here is Murphy dropping it back in. Took a hit from Dykstra after he released that. You see it being driven along by Zalapsky, and Murphy trying to keep it. Puck loose, but Partner then loses, and here is Hannon moving in. Third breakaway of the game for the Penguins. Save made by Hextall. I think he got a piece of that. Maybe Hannon lifted it wide clean. Back across, it is Scott Mellanby taking it. 5:55 to go in the first period. Half a minute still to go on the power play. Flyers are down by 3 here. Can be down by 2 if they can connect. It is Partner turning it along to Tim Kerr. And Kerr hands across to Chychrun. He blasts one that skips wide. Zalapsky wheels right to Mellanby. Fires, and that's blocked down by Dykstra. Now it's Chychrun flipping. But this one cut off by Zalapsky, and he sends it back down.
Well, the Flyers have remedied in a couple of areas, Mike, and they've closed it to 4-1. But how many breakaways can you afford in a hockey game? That's the third one they've given up in 15 minutes.
3 too many compared to earlier games in this series. Here's one now for Dobbin as he moved in on a partial and drove one into Barrasso. Puck scooped up by Derek Smith. Forced off by Paul Coffey. Coffey and Lemieux playing in this game hurt. Lemieux with 3 goals, Coffey with 2 assists. Puck brushed along by Poulin, then it comes to Mellanby. Set up Poulin for a shot that ricocheted back out. Scooped across by Howe and taken by Samuelson. Teams are at full strength with 4:45 left in this opening period. Cunnyworth tips it back. It is Dineen connecting to the turning Quinn. Cunnyworth will pull back again. The forechecker is Brian Dobbin, and he got a piece of that one. Cunnyworth angrily rolls it off the wall, and it came back to Poulin. Poulin flips one that couldn't be reached by Smith. Now a turnaround shot blocked. Then another one, and that one hit someone in front. It is Coffey flipping one around that came back over to Cunnyworth, pursued by Poulin. And it's across to Stevens, who just taps ahead for Dineen. Into skates, and the Penguins looking a little bit flustered right now. They hold the 3-goal lead with 4 minutes and 7 seconds to go in the first period, and they make a shift change. Samuelson flips. Jimmy Johnson goes back, and Barrasso is there, but flings it along the boards. Trying to get loose with it is Robbie Brown. Brown will be able to bring it right back up ice. Brown's pass caught Airy offside, and so we have a stoppage of play. We'll return to Civic Arena in Pittsburgh in just a moment. See Rick Kehoe, man in the business suit and the mustache, wearing the headsets. Kehoe, the leading all-time scorer for the Penguins in playoff action, next to Gene Ubriaco, the rookie coach of the Penguins this year. There's our Penguin fan from, oh, he's got a cummerbund on. He's really got the whole set rented tonight, doesn't he? All right, back it comes near Barrasso. The shots are 14-7 Pittsburgh. At one time, 9-2 the Penguins. That was on Lemieux's third goal. Many of you probably recall seeing the shot board at that time. Lemieux hooks one back that is held at the line by Johnson, then brushed loose by Keith Acton. Acton able to start ahead, leads it on the wing to Eklund. Acton breaks for the net. Gobbled one to Eklund, but that forced right back. Eklund tries again. Kicked out by Barrasso. Gloved down by Acton. Flipped hoping for curve and instead gets Lemieux. Lemieux beats up the wing to Robbie Brown. Has Lemieux the trailer. The drop is to Lemieux. Save made by Hextall. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Flyers. With 3 minutes and 13 seconds to go in the first period, the Penguins will go on power play number 3.
Well, Tim Kerr doesn't find himself in a penalty box very often, but he is in there now. He is off for holding, and the Penguins have another power play. They have 4 goals in this hockey game. The Flyers have 1. One of the Penguins' goals was a power play. That was Lemieux's 3rd, a breakaway goal. But the other 3 goals have been even strength goals.
Gord Brasiker, the 17-year linesman from Baltimore, you saw tending to one problem, and Ron Finn leads all officials in games worked in the playoffs. He's in his 20th year from Brampton, Ontario. So the league has wheeled in some of their most experienced tonight. Whenever we see holes in the ice, I think that prompts the question from those of you at home, what sort of weather was there in the city, especially in playoff times? We have fogging and other things that can come up. It wasn't that type of day that would cause a lot of ice problems. It was in the 60s and rainy during the early part of the day, and it became nicer as the day progressed, but not real high temperature and not real high humidity. So Lemieux with 3, Area with 1. Bullard the only goal for the Flyers here. 4-1 in the first period with the Penguins to go on their 3rd power play. They're 1 for the prior 2. Dan Quinn to take the draw with Sutter. Lemieux and Zalapsky, as well as Stevens and Coffey. Those are the 5. And again, it is Howe and Samuelson, with Sutter working along with Dave Poulin up front for the Flyers as they kill this penalty. Clock turned along now for Coffey, able to flick it along for Stevens. Stood up for the checking of Samuelson. Then Quinn shoulders with Howe. It is Poulin trying to finesse back to Howe, but instead it's Quinn. Loses to Howe, but behind it comes Lemieux. Hooks it in! The cocoon has been shed. 4 goals of Pittsburgh's 5 to that man.
You might want to get your VCR rolling. There are only a couple of guys in the world that can score this goal. Here's one of them. He lifted Ron Hextall's stick to get possession of the puck, and with that big reach, a huge 360 swing around, and scored. There's where he lifts Hextall's stick. Man, oh man, Mario Lemieux has come out of the gate with a vengeance tonight. 4 goals in the first period here. And the Penguins are walking away now 5-1.
Quinn with the lone assist at 17:09. Well, again, the Flyers are forced into a stabilization situation after they had leveled things off a little bit on Bullard's goal. The 4-goal lead is back. Bullard tries to draw a penalty, but Andy Van Helleman says no. Jim Johnson leads it back up ice. He's got Loney to the left and Caulfield to the right. Puck poked right toward Hextall, and they jam one in! Broken play, and it is Loney getting the goal, and it is now 6-1.
The Penguins really are doing exactly what the Flyers did in the first 4 games of this series. They are outnumbering the Flyers in just about every key area. Look at all the Penguins in there. As you mentioned earlier, Mike, they are also winning the races to the pucks. The Penguins have paid lip service to that commitment in this series, but this is the first time that they have really been able to do it, and you can see that Ron Hextall was an angry guy. That's a lot of pride you just saw being slashed over that crossbar with the stick.
And Ron Hextall is coming out. Immediately over to console him was Craig Berube, who will stay out for the resulting face-off, but Ken Reggett comes into the goal to play his first Stanley Cup minutes for the Flyers. Reggett in Stanley Cup play with Toronto, a record of 13 wins and 11 losses. It is Murphy leading it back ahead to Keith Acton. Acton strides toward Buskus. Peels off and looks for Kerr. It's angled off and Kerr is there. Flipped one out in front, but it is read there and dealt back out by Hannon for Loney. Loney hit on the play by Murphy and down to get it as well. Well, we always talk about the ability of teams to adjust from one period to the next. The Flyers have to be looking forward to the end of the last 100 seconds of this period as they are down by a score of 6-1. And only those who play long odds would ever have thought of this. Berube with a hammer shot on Jock Callender. Puck flipped behind and Chychrun bumps there with Cullen. Puck kicked along by Terry Kartner. Still the battle on, two aside. It's picked up by Cullen. Feeds it to Coffey. Deals one back into a cluster as Acton is still locked up with a man, and then coming in high and hard was Jeff Chychrun. Chychrun ties up with Callender. Puck knocked loose by Cullen, and around it comes to Reggett. Reggett spinning one off to Craig Berube.
I can tell you, Mike, I wouldn't want to be a Penguin out on the ice right now. The Flyers may have even lost the war already at 6-1, but they're bound. They're not going to win the battle. This shift, Chychrun, Kartner, and Berube have all simply gone after Penguins, and man, have they ever dealt out some big hits.
Now we have Berube eye to eye with Lemieux. And as you might guess, a crowd gathers quickly on that one, especially the Penguins to be quick to rush in. All of this with 41 seconds to go in the first period of play. That was all every Penguin fan could dream, and all every Flyer fan would have in their worst nightmare. It is early in the evening, but the Penguins have established a great deal of control over the game as well as the scoreboard.
You know, Gino Briacco has started using everybody in a regular rotation, obviously with the lead, but Paul Holmgren has done that a little more too in this period. Now that he's down 6-1, everybody is in the rotation. You've got to look for somebody to spark it, to start that return, to ignite that comeback. And maybe it would be a Craig Berube, maybe it would be an Al Secord. Got to give everybody a chance.
Penguins are penalized for having too many men on the ice, so the Flyers are going to wind up with a late first period power play. And Jock Callender, who took probably the heaviest hit of the period from Craig Berube and was just knocked flat, and he's not a little guy at all. 6'1", 187, but Berube caught him just the right way, high and hard and legal. According to Andy Van Helleman, who was watching it right close by, just 10 feet away. Berube at 6'1", 195 himself. Half a minute to go in the first period of play. Flyers wheel out on their power play now. Mike Bullard with a pass that tipped off Airy, came down on Barrasso, and Barrasso forces one down. Ken Reggett out of the Flyers' goal to flip one just away from Lemieux. Taken by Tim Kerr, handed back on to Scott Mellanby. Mellanby pivots now in the last 10 seconds of the period. Hands it back over for Bullard. Then Bullard wedged down by Jimmy Johnson. Airy shouldered hard by Mellanby. Puck kicked along and Kerr tried to yank it free as the horn sounds to end this first period of play. It could be a long night, but the Penguins made this first period drearily long for the Flyers. Lemieux with 3, then Airy with 1, then Lemieux with his 4th, and then Loney. One Flyer goal in the bunch, Mike Bullard. The shots in the period for the Penguins, 18. For the Flyers, 9. After 1, Pittsburgh 6, Philadelphia 1. Let's go back now to our studios.
Thanks, Mike. Lee Zeidman along with Dave Maloney. Coming up between periods, we'll update that Adams Division series.
And we'll take a look back at last night's clincher in the Smythe. Flames sweep the Kings.
Sports Channel Stanley Cup coverage continues after this.